How do the big YouTubers keep you watching their videos? Well, today I'm going to reveal some of their editing techniques that you can actually do in your videos. Whether you're making vlogs, tutorials, or reviews, I got you covered. Yes, there are a lot of videos on this topic on YouTube, but most of them talk about how to cut for traditional film. And you and I, we both know that YouTube is where it's at. So I want to talk about how to cut for YouTube, and more specifically, what are some great cuts that you can use in your vlogs, tutorials. What went wrong there? Tutorials and vlogs. And we're also going to take a look at how the bigger YouTubers are doing it, so you have a clear understanding and some good examples of how you can do it too. The rules on YouTube are actually very simple. You want to get them watching and keep them watching. So what are some of the cuts that you can use to keep your viewer engaged until the end? The first cut is obviously the jump cut. Jump cuts are used all the time on YouTube. In literally every video, I think you will find a jump cut. It's basically when we remove an or a pause. That is what we consider a jump cut. Now, this is a really great way to clean up the conversation between you and your community, but also to keep up the pacing. But there is more to it. Like I previously said, YouTube is all about keeping the viewer engaged until the end of the video. And that's hard, like really, really hard. Especially on YouTube, people have a very short attention span. So one way of keeping them engaged is by giving them a new piece of information every 6 to 10 seconds. And that is why jump cuts are so great. You can use a jump cut as a jump cut that I just explained by cleaning up the conversation and keeping up the pacing, but you can also use it to show the passing of time. So let's take my friend Peter Lindgren as an example. As you can see, he is clearly using jump cuts in this sequence, and the reason why he's doing that is because he wants to keep the audience engaged. If he decided to play the entire clip, chances are that you would have been bored out of your mind and you would have clicked off and started watching another video. So this way, the storyline is still consistent and cohesive because he's showing you the progression of time, but he's also keeping the pacing up to keep you watching that video. So the second cut that I want to talk about is actually one of my favorite cuts, and that is a match cut. Now, a match cut is kind of like an umbrella of different match cuts because there are quite a few, but we're just going to stick to the basics. When I talk about a match cut, what I mean is when you match two separate scenes. So for example, you as the creator can stand in the exact same position in the two different clips, or you can do the exact same action. I think that this is a great cut to use in vlogs when you're transitioning from one location to another location, or if you want to show the passing of time. I love this cut because I think it's easy, it's definitely challenging, but it's an easy way to transition from one location to the other location without disrupting the storyline. Another cut that I personally consider to be a match cut is when a YouTuber put their hand on the lens and then in another location, for example, they take their hand off the lens, or they put the camera towards their chest and then they take it off their chest and all of a sudden they're in a different location. I think that that is a great match cut as well. It's a great way to transition and keep the story going. But that is more a transition than a cut, so maybe we should make another video about that. I mean, if you want another video about how to transition, then definitely let me know. Now, a great example of match cuts is Casey Neistat's Make It Count video, where he's using match cuts literally all the time. So what Casey is doing in this example is he's filming the same scene in different locations and he's doing the exact same action, and then he edits it all together as one continuous sequence. It's just brilliant. It's just brilliant. Now, the third cut that works really well in vlogs and in B-roll sequences, but also in reviews, is cutting on action. And this is actually also a match cut. When you cut on action, you're able to hide the cut because the transition from the one shot to the other shot feels very natural. And this happens all the time in all different types of YouTube videos, and chances are that you don't even notice it because you're so focused on the action that you just don't even see the cut. So for example, recently I created this intro sequence where I was lying in bed and I was moving from this close-up shot to a top-down shot. So we have two shots. We have the close-up shot and we have the top-down shot. And in both shots, I'm actually doing the exact same thing. I'm lying in bed and I'm reaching for a pillow. So what I did was I cut from the close close-up shot where I started to reach for the pillow, to the top-down shot where you could actually see me grab that pillow, and then go back to the close-up shot where I put it over my head. So when you're cutting on action, you want to make sure that you match the action in both clips, and you want to make it as smooth as possible so that there's no jump visible. You can also cut on action very well if you're doing reviews, like Sarah Dici, for example. She's using multiple cameras and she makes sure that she matches the action when she switches from one angle to the other. So whether you're making a vlog, a B-roll sequence, a review, you can literally do this with any video. I have so many examples to show you. We're going to move on to the fourth cut. The next cut is an L cut, and an L cut is basically where the audio continues playing but the video is cut to a next shot. So for example, right now I'm going to be talking about the time where I went to Belfast, I went to a video conference, and I ended up making a video with Peter McKinnon. Now what you just saw is considered an L cut, and the reason why it's called an L cut is very simple. If we look at the timeline, it looks like an L. The opposite of an L cut is a J cut, and a J cut is the exact opposite of what we just talked about. So basically, if for example you're playing B-roll and then you introduce the audio of the next clip, so for example that's a talking headshot, and then later you show the talking headshot, that is considered a J cut. You'll see both of these cuts in almost every type of video, in vlogs, in tutorials, in reviews. A lot of people use them because it's a great way to continue the storyline and also have a smooth transition from one clip to the other clip. So instead of having harsh cuts, it will all look more smoothly. And just because those are two separate cuts doesn't mean that you need to use them separately. They actually work really well together and they're way more powerful when used together. I have a question for you. Which cut will you be using in your next video and why? Let me know in the comments, and while you're down there, make sure to hit subscribe and the like button, and I'll see ya in the next one.